Aaron McCormick. I've got sand skills coming at you today, where I'm going to teach you to master where your club enters the sand, how it enters the sand, and the speed you deliver through impact to get it close to the hole. Rather than the energy working through the cover of the ball, what I did is I let the club release right under it, my fist being the ball right here, and so the energy really touched the bottom of the ball. We're also going to touch on the psychology of sand play. So you enter the bunker with a sense of confidence and assertiveness that you can take command and guarantee that you get out. We create the hinge in the backswing, we create this lag loading in transition, and then we delay that release. Coming at you right now, skill code, sand mastery. Welcome to the Skill Code. I'm Matt Adams, alongside a 2015 PGA Teacher of the Year, and a man who's not only one of the top coaches of the game all over the globe, but he's earned that status from teaching students from amateurs all the way up to multiple-time major champions like Jordan Spieth. Today, we're talking about a shot that, for many, is absolutely full of dread. Indeed, yeah. Fear-stricken is the way I would describe the way most recreational players enter the bunker, and contrast that against the experience of many of the players that I coach, some of the world's best. They relish the opportunity with a ball sitting in the bunker. The skill code of great bunker players really are understanding and applying three underlying principles. Okay, those underlying principles are: can I control where my club enters the sand? Can I also control how my club works through the sand? And lastly, do I understand how to apply more or less speed to then dictate how far that ball might travel? So the sand gets in the way of this interaction between club face and ball, similar to a pillow. And so the ball is seeing or feeling the energy of the club, similar to me hitting this pillow. And when you think about how much sand to take, oftentimes you hear, okay, 2.5 inches, a margin that then increases that buffer. So it's almost like me taking more than just this one pillow and adding a second or possibly even a third pillow. And if you can imagine, if I was punching this pillow, the pillow is feeling my energy, and I'm feeling the energy on the other side of the pillow in my glove hand. But yet if I added a second or a third pillow and punched with the same force, less of that force would make its way through to the other side, to my glove hand here. And that's exactly what the ball sees. So when recreational players step into the bunker and have an intent to enter back maybe 2, sometimes even 3 inches behind the ball, they're basically saying, okay, rather than one pillow, I'm going to use 2 or 3 of a buffer of sand between club face and ball, and hopefully that ball's going to come out. They also step in with that fear and trepidation that says, oh, I better not swing fast. And when you don't swing fast, and when you take more sand, what you inevitably do is end up right in the lip, not getting out and faced with an even more difficult shot because your ball advanced, not out of the bunker. So the first demonstration I want to make here is that club face to ball interaction that's created by reducing that buffer of sand. So I'm talking about 1 inch now. Okay, here we go. So Maddie, what I want you to tell me here is, once I've hit the shot, we're going to look down and make sure I've hit the sand on this line right here. Okay, now to that second flag. Tell me how fast the club was moving right there.
Club speed was 70 miles an hour. Ball speed was 33.
33. So I've used 70 miles an hour of club speed to produce 33 miles an hour of ball speed. So that buffer sapped the energy the club was using. This face tape is actually being sheared by that club and that sand interacting and moving up the club face. But yet the energy was sapped, wasn't it? And if we look down here, I've drawn, that was my 3-inch line, and here was my 1-inch line, and my divot started exactly on that line, so I hit my entry point. So conversely, what would happen if I tried to apply the same force, so 65, 70 miles an hour of club speed, but yet entered on this back line? I think what we'll see is there's less of a club face to ball interaction, and the ball is going to come off with, in turn, less speed and carry shorter. Let's give it a shot. So this time, my intent is to enter right back here where most recreational players would think is appropriate. There it is. The same speed, far less carry.
Your speed was 62.
Yep.
And your ball speed wasn't up there either compared to the others. It was at 23.
Sure. So as you can see, for the viewers out there, the more sand I take, the more energy it takes for even just a short carry distance. So then we begin with understanding what are those factors that address that give us control of that entry point so we're not hitting too far back behind. I like to begin with an assessment, and that assessment is a crosshair drill. So I give it a quick rate with my feet. I love to control the sand environment in front of me. I draw one line very lightly with the heel of my club, and I go crosshair across, like you're looking through a gun sight perhaps. And on each of these crosshairs, my intent is to enter right at that point of origin, right there, right where the two lines cross. Now, most recreational players set up with a little bit too much of their pressure 50-50 like a regular shot. But in reality, we can stack the deck in our favor and enter close to the ball by shifting pressure a little bit more to the left. In addition, because of this concept that most recreational players have, they want to get the ball up to get it out. They also put the ball too far forward. And when I center my balance and I put the ball forward, my entry point then becomes further back. So I enter too far to the east side. So I want to enter here, but yet the same swing will cause me to enter some 4 or 5 inches back here. I much prefer to see a ball that's just slightly in front of center or even maybe center with a lot of pressure on the left side and then leave it there during the swing. So these are just setup elements, swing smart elements that happen even pre-swing that stack the deck in our favor. So we can see right there how I entered really tight on that line and got that crosshair really nice. So that final point of importance is there are things that we can do that even happen before we start the swing. The first would be just understanding the concept, right? We need to understand that the closer we enter to that ball, the more control we have over the ball, the less speed we need to get out. And then we want to put that pressure way up on our left side. We want to make sure that ball's not too far forward.
So Cameron has already taken us through now all of these different pieces of direction that he wants to take us in. When we come back, he's going to give you the fundamentals that you need so that you can execute this plan. Stay with us.
Not an easy shot here to get up and down.
Goodness gracious.
Jordan's feet, how about that birdie lost?
As soon as I saw that shot, my mind immediately flashed back to all the hard work that he had put and I'd helped him put in the bunker. I knew that his club entered the sand not more than a centimeter and a half from the back edge of the ball. I knew that gave him supreme ability to cause it to land pretty close to the flag, and that gave him the best chance of making it.
At the age of 19, his first PGA Tour victory, and I believe the first of many.
Oh, on form now, Karen. Welcome back to Skill Code. You know, in the last segment, you walked into the bunker with a pillow. You told us that your players, top players, love to play from the bunker for the control that they can get. But this pillow is really about breaking myths. We don't even need this thing anymore.
Don't need it. We're debunking that myth as the ball comes out on a pillow of sand. We're trying to understand it's the amount of sand that we take that gives us better control of the ball. So the pillow represents how much sand we're taking. We want just a narrow pillow. We want a small buffer, not a massive buffer. So it's no longer 3 inches. It's maybe 1 inch at best. So now what are those swing smart elements that happen actually when we're making contact with the sand, the dynamics of the swing, that give us a greater chance of success? It really boils down to 2 things. It's the amount of hinge and lag that you have in the downswing, and it's also how vertical versus flat you are as you hinge it back. Okay, so when I'm working on these things, either on my own game or with the world's best players, or with recreational players, I like to take the ball out of the equation. I like to take away that negative psychology that causes us to react, that anticipation says, oh my gosh, if I create too much speed or entry point that's too far to the left, I might blade it, so therefore I'm going to bail out and catch sand 3 or 4 or 5 inches too far behind the ball. So what I like to do is I like to start with a little line, and I work on those in-swing concepts after I've got set up that say I should hinge a lot, not a little bit, hinge a lot, create a lot of lag in transition. So I've got this club almost bouncing back towards my shoulder. Why? Because that allows me to delay the release and hit on the left side of the line. I want to really try and push the envelope towards hitting on the left side of the line because I know at impact, I'm probably going to be just a little bit before that on the right side of the line or in the exact point of that line. And then from a downswing perspective, we talked about entry point and divot depth, how that club moves through the sand. And what I want to convey here is that the more vertical the hinges and the more vertical the delivery, particularly if the leading edge is looking down, that creates a really deep divot.
And what that'll produce is it'll produce that massive buffer again where the ball will dribble out in front of you, probably burying itself right in that lip. Okay, so the line drill is a great one to just develop the sense for what this hinge and lag is. And I've got a training aid that I often use out of the bunker to give us that sensation of that wristy, that fluid, oily release, oily hinge, oily lagged release where we want to snap, this snag snapper, this ribbon on the end of the stick, to where we create the hinge in the backswing, we create this lag loading in transition, and then we delay that release so we don't have a divot, an entry point that's too far on our right side.
Cameron, how much are you thinking about head position in all of this?
I don't think about head position at all. I would allow the head to work just on its own without paying too much attention to it. Once we put our pressure up on our left side, I certainly want to keep it there. I don't want the recreational player starting to bail out of the swing, so commit to the swing. That's the psychological component that we'll get into here in just a little bit. Okay. So once we've developed some awareness as to where we're striking the sand, then I like to turn my attention to what I call the H drill. Okay, where I've drawn the letter H. Okay, this is the channel I want my swing working through. Here's the desired entry point to give me full control. And then I'm going to strike right on the tip of this line right here. Let's see how I do. I did fantastically. So when I look down, what I have is feedback, and feedback is critical for us as recreational players or even world's best players to try and read and then react to what we're seeing. So I can see my entry point was precise on the line. I can see my divot was traveling down the channel. I'm not much of a proponent of an address, opening up my stance. I create a little bit of more lock on the club face at address, but largely I'm working on those two in-swing elements of hinging a lot, lagging, and then creating a nice flat hinge to where it almost feels like the butt of the club is pointed actually outside the ball this way, so I get that nice skipping or shallow angle of attack, almost like that sidearm throw with a skipping to the right. Let's give it one more attempt here. In fact, this time, what I'll do is I'll intentionally make a mistake. I'll create the hinge, but I'll dump the angle so early, and I'll kind of counter back like the recreational player does. There we go. So I've got what? I've got an entry point that is 10 inches too early. The club hits the sand, it bounces up into the belly of the ball, and the ball goes ricocheting way across the green. Clearly the experience that we want to avoid.
Cameron, why don't you show us one more the way you want it to be executed?
Yep. Okay. And here we go. Let me see if I can't hold it out for you. That might go close.
Ooh. What a perfect way to end the segment. Cameron McCormick, when we come back, is going to talk about other elements to hitting shots just like that. And one of the most important ones is speed.
Rather than the energy working through the cover of the ball, what I did is I let the club release right under it, my fist being the ball right here. And so the energy really touched the bottom of the ball.
Welcome back to the Skill Code. Well, Cameron has his grid in the sand now. What's interesting with what you've told us so far, Cameron, is that the mindset of most people of how to execute a bunker shot is almost the complete opposite of what most take to do the task.
Indeed it is. Yes, I would say that speed is our friend, whereas most recreational golfers, particularly when they're talking about trying to hit the short carry distance shot, what they'll intuitively do is they'll say, okay, short distance, I need a shorter swing, and they need less speed. In fact, this is invariably what happens when they approach a short bunker shot or a short carry distance, just out onto the edge of the green here, like that. So I'm going in the direction of the first flag on the left-hand side there. But yet, in order to hit a short carry shot, what they'll do is they'll make a short swing, and it'll only dribble out. And if that lip was any higher than what it was, that ball jumps straight into the lip and buries itself in the lip. But what I want to take here is an approach that says speed is our friend, and developing that speed is really the aggressive intent of the mindset we need to take into these shots. There are a couple of things we're going to try and keep constant. The first being the entry point. So I've got my H drill here that I introduced in the previous segment. I'm just going to, on all three of these shots here, enter exactly at the same entry point. I'm also going to create the same intent on speed, a really assertive, positive mindset, an acceleration into and through impact. But in all three of these shots, I'm going to demonstrate that we can control the distance the ball travels by doing something other than bailing out on the swing and swinging really short and kind of delicately, okay? So the first one is going to be a short carry distance, but it's going to be done with a lot of speed. To put it into perspective here, I imagine you're going to see speeds in the range of 60 to 70 miles per hour, which is basically my full swing speed with my most lofted lob wedge right here. Okay, here we go. So, swing smart elements of address in place. I'm going to go lag with lots of speed. There she is. That's a lot of speed. Maddie, did that one register there?
That one was 14.
14 yards of carry on what speed right there?
Your speed was 64.
64. Okay, so how do I achieve such a short carry distance with so much club head speed? What I do is I give different instructions to the ball. On that occasion, rather than the energy working through the cover of the ball, what I did is I let the club release right under it, my fist being the ball right here, and so the energy really touched the bottom of the ball. I achieved that by adjusting two things. So the stance is the same, pre-swing left, ball position normal, but I adjusted more lofted address by twisting the club face more to the sky, and then through impact what I did is I allowed the club head to pass underneath the handle really, really aggressively. That doesn't mean when you create your hinge, you start that passing early, you wait until the last possible minute to let that club head release under the sand. And what I try and do is I stand it up right on my collarbone right here. So if that's the short carry distance, let's go for a more middle carry distance with that same entry point and club head speed. There's my middle carry distance. I'm going to guess at 25 yards.
TrackMan says your club speed was 69.2. Your carry was just under 24, and your height was 21.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, entry point precision, swinging through that channel represented by the H drill. And all I did there is I took the loft away at address. I squared it up just a little bit more. And what I did through impact is I didn't let the club head pass quite as much. I felt like the swing was just a little longer through impact before the club stood up. So now the last one, keeping speed constant and high, because speed is our friend. How do I make the ball carry some 30, maybe even 40 yards? Entry point constant. Set up the same. Now I'm going to square the club face up, and here we go. There she is, to that back flag on that back tier back there. I'm going to guess 35 yards of carry and about 65 miles an hour speed.
Very well done. A little bit more than that, 68.5. 32.5 was your carry distance.
Fantastic. So, for the viewers out there, the final points of importance are speed is our friend. Don't be defensive out of the bunker. Take an assertive approach. Try and keep that entry point constant and change the distance the ball travels by changing static lofted address and then changing that release pattern through impact.
So you just heard Cameron say that speed is your friend. When have you ever heard friendly talk about bunker shots? We're going to get into the psychology of doing just this when we get back. Welcome back to the Skill Code. So we're working now on these bunker shots with Cameron McCormick, and not only in the psychology, but Cameron, also in perfecting some tricky little shots.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. So first touching on the psychology, I see far too many recreational players. Again, step into the bunker with that attitude of fear, trepidation, probably anticipation that the result's going to be bad because all of their history, or most of their history, says the result could be bad. But yet if you understand those skill codes of entry point, divot quality or divot depth, and speed, and apply the lessons learned here, then you can step in with some conviction, some assertiveness, and create a picture of success even before it's happened. So that's the first point of importance from this segment. The second is, well, sometimes the ball's not sitting in the sand the way we want it to, which is a nice, level lie. What happens when it's kind of nudged down? I would call this lie almost semi-buried. There are certain strategies that we need to use at this point in order to give us some control. So we have some surety that first the ball is going to get out, and then some semblance of an ability to get it close. So now what we have to do is we have to recognize the bottom of the ball is deep into the sand. So I want the club, rather than kind of sliding through the sand, now I need some dig. How can I create the dig that's going to cause the club to hit the sand as if it was my hand and continue to descend as it's traveling through until we get to the bottom of the ball that's actually sitting down here somewhere? I created a dress adjustment and I created a backswing hinge adjustment. You remember those swing smarts elements of flat hinge for a nice skipping blow. Well, now I'm definitely going to go a whole lot more vertical, and you'll see the club face shape change from what we'll term open or lofted to square, potentially even closed. And I bet the ball reaction here is going to be relatively flat
and running on the green. So we could call this a chunk and roll, and it's a chunk and roll on purpose. Okay, so here we go. Same setup as before, pressure left. Same setup in terms of entry point intent and ball position. But now we've turned the club face just a little bit more hooded, and the hinge is going to be a little bit more vertical, and you're going to see that club descend into the sand and continue to bury down. Ball's going to pop out and hopefully roll out close to that flag right there. Fantastic right there. Exactly what I was looking for. It flew probably 12 yards in the air and rolled another 10 or 12 feet. It's approaching being really successful close to the hole.
You anticipated that shot to have less spin.
Exactly. And you see the massive divot depth right here. I've gone down to that secondary color of the soil beneath that top layer of sand because of the cutting effect that club face had. And you can see that artifact of the finish where the club was really low. Okay, what about the opposite of that? What about when we need to create a lot of spin? What are those adjustments? Well, again, spin is controlled by friction. And that friction is that application of just a little bit of a buffer of sand between club face and then the ball that creates this cutting effect. So rather than my entry point being traditionally back here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to nudge it up really close. Now, this really challenges a player to take that attitude of confidence and conviction into this shot. So spin is controlled by a really tight entry point to the ball at about a ½ inch right here. I'm going to go to that center flag and see if I can get it ripping back. Loft on the club face, conviction. That one might come all the way back to the flag.
Nice. Well done. That one had some spin on it, too.
Good. So just with merely practicing entry point and then the hinge mechanics, those in-swing smarts that we had talked about, you can retake control of your bunker play.
Fun show today. Thank you for it. And thank you to the Lake Nona Golf and Country Club for once again hosting us. And thank you to all of you for joining us today. So long.